There we are. Oh, damn it, that's crazy. That way. Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about managing your energy to lose weight. And when you start focusing in on your energy level, and that becomes one of your main kind of focuses, right? So I know you want to lose weight, and so you're probably focusing on calories, right? When we want to lose weight, we focus on calories and getting them down. Makes sense, right? You focus on your eating, but the energy that you're feeling is one of the most fundamental things you can start focusing on consistently that'll probably have the greatest impact naturally and automatically on all the other aspects you're focusing on to lose weight. Okay. So just simply, you could have the same meal plan, the same diet philosophy, the same strategy of how you want to lose weight. It could be keto, counting carbs, counting calories, doesn't matter what it is. No matter what it is you're planning on doing, one of the main factors that's going to impact your ability to do it and the level you're able to do it at is your energy level. And so if I keep you up all night, let me know how your plan goes tomorrow. Right? If you get a good night of sleep, you're probably gonna have a completely different day. So same you, same knowledge, same willpower. But if you wake up tomorrow exhausted, low energy, everything's going to be a lot harder. Everything. And if the other thing's true, if you sleep great all night and you're well rested and you wake up, that same plan and same you is going to perform at a much higher level. Now, I've found working with clients over the years, and I've worked with thousands of them, is that in America, anyways, we tend to ignore our energy levels. We may be aware that we're exhausted all the time, but we don't really do anything to correct it. And so, a lot of times when you're thinking about weight loss, you're presupposing that you're going to be exhausted. And it's just one more thing you have to pile on to do. And this doesn't work. This is why, again, 75% of the population is overweight or obese. 95% of people that lose weight on a diet put it back on, because this isn't a long-term strategy to just add another thing on top that drains you. So when you start fixating on your energy level, what happens is you'll start to realize that you're probably doing a lot of things and not doing a lot of things that are keeping you at a low energy level. And as long as that continues to be true, you're always going to struggle with your weight, most likely. Now, if you're stressed out and no energy and you're not overweight, that's a different story. But if you're overweight and you want to lose weight, that is a process of learning, of thinking, of making changes that requires energy. And so without that energy, it's almost impossible to make a change. But when you start focusing on energy, when you treat your energy as importantly as you treat calories, you're going to notice something remarkable happen. That all of a sudden you have a clarity of mind. You can see things differently. So it's not just that you have more willpower. You understand? It's that you're literally fundamentally, the way you're thinking is completely different. It's more positive. It's more solution oriented. It's more focused on what you want. And that shift alone of, now I mentioned getting sleep, hydration, relaxation, breathing more properly, nourishing your body and giving it what it truly needs, moving more, quieting your mind down, practicing gratitude. These things fill you up with energy. And the more energy that you have, the easier everything else becomes. Because for most people, it's not that they need a new diet plan or new diet philosophy to succeed. What they need is more energy in order to move forward in a new way. Now, I think having the right plan is important too. And I think most diets don't really give you that. So again, Program Yourself Thin, I think, is the way to go if you're not familiar with it. But ultimately, at the very end, regardless if you're using Program Yourself Thin or counting carbs, calories, whatever you're planning on doing, this fundamental beginning is always there. Where's your energy? What level's it at? And there's a great chance that, again, you've presupposed you're always going to have low energy. So you're not thinking about boosting your energy. You might be aware that I don't have much energy and this sucks and I don't like it and I feel like crap. But I want you to put all that energy into saying, how can I have some more energy? And the answer is relatively simple. Again, it doesn't have to be a complete transformation of reality in one day. That's overwhelming and reduces your energy. So we're looking for easy, simple wins. Again, adding a little more water into your body if you are dehydrated in any way. having some more fruit and vegetables and fresh food into your body, getting a little more sleep, going to bed a little bit earlier, sleeping in a little later if you can, taking naps when possible, bringing relaxation into your life, even 5-10 minutes, letting the stress go intentionally, connecting to your breathing, right? Moving outside, moving your body more, quieting your mind. All of these things energize you and everything else becomes easier. And I find it's one of the missing pieces almost across the board with all the diets. And as soon as you take it serious, I think you'll see firsthand that it is transformative. All right. So if you want support with this process of really focusing on your energy and approaching this completely different, click the link in my bio or go to Program Yourself Thin and go get the free hypnosis session I made for you. Watch the video I made for you and read the emails I send you. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. What's up, Nura? See Nura 10 hours sleep club over here. All right, 10 hours. Damn. Now Nura's at a very, very high level. That's important to understand. She's really looking for peak optimal results. So 10 hours. Wow, that's awesome. I would say I'm 8, 9. I'm somewhere in that ballpark. But again, that's been a more recent shift for me, was increasing the sleep. And absolutely fundamental. That's why I put sleep as the number one habit, impacting your weight, your health, your happiness. Most people are sleep deprived. So again, I could talk about the energy thing all day long because it's fascinating to me for a number of reasons. One of the biggest of them is that in America anyways, we are conditioned really not to value our energy. To be honest, I think we're not trained to look at our energy levels. I think we're trained enough to look at it to say, I'm tired and I don't have any energy. And I think that's about it. And maybe we're looking for quick boosts of energy along the way. Right. So I think we're trained to look for little hits of energy in the form of sugar or, treats and processed foods and hyper palatable things that break down our body real quick and give us a little boost of glucose. But overall, we're not really taught and conditioned to value energy. So we kind of take it for granted. And if anything, it's almost like the more you focus on conserving your energy, the less productive you are or something. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of guilt. I've dealt with some of this myself. But a lot of my clients will almost feel guilt if they're going to take a nap. And it's very interesting to reflect on, because because the way I look at it too, like it's interesting. Well, what would the guilt be? What, that you're shirking off, I guess, right? But if you're anything like me, a 15-minute nap in the middle of the day makes me more productive and more effective. So I don't really, again, I find a lot of times people have an instinctual, like reflexive guilt about taking a nap, for example. And when you really explore it, there's really no there. Why do you feel that way? And there's no real good reason, but people feel it. And if that's the case for you, you should really reflect on that because you might be missing a golden opportunity to really just operate at a much higher level. Yeah, I think everyone, like when you talk about it, I think people are like, yeah, of course, sleep's important. But then look at your behavior, look how you actually monitor your sleep and honor it, and I mean, you're either getting enough sleep or you're not. But that is definitely one thing. I think there's such a huge return on investment with the sleep. And I think they're all important, and they're easy. That's the other piece that I think when you focus on energy, makes it a lot easier. But anyways. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask them. Any weight loss questions are welcome. I deal with people doing every kind of weight loss strategy, literally everything. I feel like I've dealt with at this point. So if you're struggling with your plan or getting started with a plan is usually the biggest issue, I suppose, for the average person. It's the times in between, the times in between doing the keto plan or counting the calories or doing whatever it is you think you need to do. It's usually the amount of time in between those that really tells the story. So, and Program Yourself, then it's an all or something strategy. So most diets that you know about are all or nothing. Right? You're either doing it 100% perfect or you're not thinking about it at all. And that's how most people approach their weight loss, which it's so normalized. I don't think sometimes you can miss how ridiculous that would be. It makes no sense because if you are that way, if you are an all or nothing person with your weight, I bet you would agree that it's actually more descriptive to say you're a nothing or all person, that you're probably doing nothing more often than the all, a lot more often, and that most of your time is stuck in doing nothing about your weight and your eating. And then you get all fired up and hyped up, and then that's it, no carbs. You do no carbs for a week, and then back to nothing for months. A couple months later, he said, that's it, I got to do something. Perfect for a week. And back to nothing for months, and that pattern, obviously, I mean, when you look at it that way, mathematically, it's what chances do you have, right? If it was like that with anything, literally anything, if you put it in a different context, you want to learn how to play guitar. It's even worse than that. But so you want to learn to play guitar and you play, 1 week, don't play for 4 months, pick the guitar up for a week, don't play for 4 months, you're not going to get anywhere. And that's what a lot of people do with their weight loss. And so to that end, I think one of the most important things you can do when you're thinking about your weight is stop thinking about perfection. Again, program yourself into all or something. So when you're really fired up and you want to do your thing, knock yourself out. Go ahead, count every calorie, track every single meal, do whatever you want. Okay. As long as you can do it. Great. But as soon as you stop doing that, right, that's the part you have to stay aware for. Is as soon as I don't want to do this, and it's coming, okay? As soon as you start feeling that, keep doing something, right? It's funny to me, like people will go from like cutting carbs down to zero, like not a single carb, and then they go up to whatever their normal carbs are, which who the hell knows? Let's see. I wouldn't even know. Let's get a specific. I wouldn't know. What's this going to come up with? The average carb intake per day. 300, let's say. I don't know. But I'm sure people are eating way more than that. But let's just say, for sake of argument, it proves the point. But let's just say 300 grams of carbs a day, right? And let's just say that's what you normally eat, right? Just you last, 6 months, right? You haven't really been thinking about your weight, haven't been thinking about your eating. You're eating, 300 grams of carbs a day, okay? And Monday comes around, it's keto time, right? And you're an all or nothing person. You're right. If you do something, you take it seriously, right? You're gonna do it right. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it right, right? You haven't been waiting 6 months for nothing. So if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it big. And so you go from 300 grams of carbs a day to 0 carbs a day. Right. And how long you keep that up for? Well, a week, a month? Okay, whatever. 0 carbs. And then you have one day where you say, oh my God. Or you wake up and everything's fine. And then all of a sudden you ate a cookie by accident. It got in front of you. Now you're right back up to 300 carbs, And so that's what you got to be careful of. Is that all or nothing thing, mathematically, it's a failing strategy for weight loss. So what you need to start looking at is, how can I percentage-wise reduce? You know what I mean? Like you understand, like there's a lot of wisdom here. I'm telling you this, is that in the dieting mindset, right? You're going to go from 300 grams of carbs to 0 grams of carbs until you lose the weight, I guess. Right? That's the plan. Okay, say you're not going to be extreme. Say you're going to go from 300, grams of carbs to 100 grams of carbs. Okay? And then a week, a month into it, you start getting bored with it. It's hard. It's difficult. I don't want to do this. Back up to 300. But what if you focused on cutting 25% of your carbs out from the beginning? So what would that be? Maybe about 70 carbs, 70 grams. So 70 grams is a lot easier to cut down. Maybe you'll be able to stick with that a lot longer, right? Now I'm here to tell you that the carbs really isn't the problem, just so you know. You can eat carbs and be thin and healthy. I eat lots of carbs. And if you look at all the societies of the world, the vast majority of them have been carb centric. That's the main thing they're consuming. And guess what? Most of them live right at healthy weights. So the carbs are not the problem. Refined carbs and processed foods, the problem for sure. But you can eat carbs and be at your goal weight, just so you know. But I was using that as an example that we set these weird things where it's like, oh, I'm at 300, I'm going to knock it down to 0. But what are you going to do when you don't want to do 0 anymore? Because again, dieting is really built around the delusion that you're going to start on a Monday and just be perfect until you reach your goal weight. Why would you think that anymore? How many diets have you tried? How many times have you tried to be perfect with your reading? It's not a criticism. You're not meant to be perfect with your reading. Okay. So I'm not saying you're a bad person because you haven't been able to be perfect with your reading. I'm saying you're the idea that you think you can be perfect is the problem. And so my friend's perfect. Are they? Are they? I haven't met too many people that are perfect. Only people I see perfect are like, and I don't know if they're perfect. Maybe they are, like fitness models, influencers, bodybuilders, people that are really obsessed with their looks and their health. And I'm not knocking it. That's a fine place to be. But most of us don't really give a shit. We don't really need to have a perfect body. Most of us don't really need that. Will we like it? Yeah, sure. I mean, if I snap my fingers at a perfect body, oh, cool. Right. But over here in the real world, if the perfect body is going to require another 15 hours of working out and hours of meal planning and prepping and strict, miss me with that. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in that. And I think most of you are on my side with this. I think, yeah, I'd love to look like a supermodel, sure, but I'm willing to work up to just being, near my goal weight. I just want to feel good in my clothes, good in my body. That's what I'm looking for, right? That's kind of where most of us are at. And if you're not there, fine, but let me see what you're doing. And it better be really clean and clear what you're doing, right? And you better be doing it all the time. Because if you're not, then you are in our camp, the camp that doesn't really want to eat perfectly and dedicate our lives to looking a certain way. And I don't know if that's discouraging for you all to hear, but it's been my experience that most people, again, want to look good enough. And that's about how much energy and effort they're willing to put into it. So that changes the whole dynamic. We don't need to cut carbs down to zero. We need to cut everything down to perfection. We can just cut it down to better. How about that one? How about better? How about you focus on being better than you've been? Maybe it's time for you to have a reality check. This dream world you live in where you're going to wake up one Monday and be perfect and, instantly get to your goal weight and everything's gonna be amazing. Maybe it's time to let go of that. Maybe let go of that and maybe instead replace it with the idea that I'm going to start today and I'm just going to get better. And I'll just keep getting better each and every day. We'll see where it takes us. But one thing's for sure, I'm going to be consistent. From this day forward, I'm always going to do something that points me and aims me towards my goal weight. Might be eating a piece of fruit, maybe drink some water, maybe going to bed early, maybe a little stretching, who knows, but I'm going to get better. Not going to get perfect. And I think that shift is the biggest shift you can make. And I know you'll fight me on that because you've been conditioned to think like a dieter your entire life. And the idea of getting better and taking it slow, it's like the diet industry went and clipped the wires for your motivation. And so if you think about losing weight slowly and systematically, it's like there's no feeling of excitement there for you, right? It doesn't jazz you up. Whereas if I tell you I got this crazy diet plan where you lose 10 pounds a week, now you get excited, you see? But that's been wired into you by the diet industry. And so that now you value fast, quick results done in intense ways. You value that and you're viscerally connected to that. You're viscerally excited about that prospect. But the idea of taking it slow and steady and living at your goal weight for the rest of your life has very little meaning to you. It doesn't really do anything inside of you, So that is one of the challenges, you need to first recognize and then work to fix. Because of course, there is no just getting to your goal weight and staying there. It's a fantasy. A complete and total illusion. Dieting is a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a smoke and mirrors. It's not real. All the years of dieting, there's not one diet that's better than the rest. There's not one diet that's proven to work. Long-term, they'll work short-term if you do them. There's not one diet that has been proven to be effective long-term. One fad diet. I mean, there's diet philosophies, like Mediterranean diet, whole natural food, that stuff speaks for itself. But I'm talking about like actual diet plans. I'm talking about Weight Watchers, which is the best of the group. I'm talking about, keto, South Beach, paleo, Atkins, all these different diets where you're going to completely change your eating in one day. None of them last. None of them work. None of them are proven. Not one. And that's a crazy place to start the conversation at, that everything you think about losing weight is completely wrong. It's unproven, doesn't work. Who do you know that's lost weight and kept it off doing some diet plan that's popular? How many people do you know that have lost weight and kept it off for at least 2 years? And I bet you're going to be hard pressed to find and know anyone. So, we got to start by recognizing what we've been taught and what we're kind of naturally, the way we're thinking about it is wrong. It's my take on it. What's up, Julie? Julie says, best thing I learned from PYT is identifying one bad habit and targeting that first. Stopped eating snacks in bed late at night. Yeah, that's wonderful, Julie. And that's exactly what we do in Program Yourself then, is we take it a habit at a time. We start where we're at and we systematically build and improve up to where we want to be. I guess the more technical thing is we systematically prove down to your goal weight. But regardless, it's systematically and strategic. What you're doing with the diets is not strategic at all. It's a Hail Mary pass. You know what I mean? Like you're just winging it. The idea that you're going to completely change thing in one day has there's no, what's the legal term for it? Precedent for it, right? There's no precedence for changing everything at once and it lasting, because when you change everything at once, you overwhelm yourself and you quit. Isn't that what happens? Of course, okay, let me put it in a different context. If you want to learn to play piano, you never play piano, you want to learn to play the piano. And what you've heard your whole life is if you really want to play the piano, you got to be really serious about it. And you got to play 8 hours a day. That's what you have to do. Right. And that's what you believe. That's what you hear all your whole life, 8 hours a day if you're going to do it. And you say, that's it. Okay, fine. I'm going to do it. I really want to learn piano. I'm going to do it. And the first day you sit down for your 8 hours and you muscle through it and you finish. And the next day you wake up and your hands feel like they're broken and you hate the piano. So now let's see how day 2 goes, right? Oh, let's see how day 3 goes. Let's see how day 4 goes. And so because of this method, the chances of your continuing with it are so low. Is it because you don't have the willpower and the focus and the ambition and gumption to push through it? Or is it because 8 hours a day is a goofy strategy that, of course, it's going to lead to you quitting, because you're so stressed and overwhelmed, thanks, Karen. You're so stressed and overwhelmed that you can't keep it up. I mean, is that not your experience? Do you have a different experience of dieting and weight loss than that? Because if you do, then why'd you stop? So a lot of people approach their weight loss, literally, they're presupposing that they need to do something extreme and intense and difficult. And it's not true. You can lose weight comfortably, easily. You just have to do it strategically. And the strategy that we use in Program Yourself, then the very first basic strategy is, what's your worst eating habit? What's the habit that shows up multiple times a day or a week? Let's start there. Not changing everything. Let's just start fixing the worst thing. And we'll focus on that until we do it. Say it took you a year. Let's just magically say it took you a year to get rid of your worst eating habit. Well, now all of a sudden you've got a real strategy and solution to your worst eating habit. And you naturally start losing weight now. But the difference is, it's not about how much weight you lose that first year. It's about how much you set yourself up to live at your goal weight for the rest of your life. And when you approach it this way, strategically, systematically, by smartly picking your worst eating habit, going to work on it, right? Going to work on it, fixing it, making it so it works right for you. And you just keep doing that thing after thing. It's manageable. It's built for the long term. It feels more comfortable. I don't know. It's funny. But I talk about this every day because this is my life. So yeah, any weight loss questions you have, though, let me give you a different perspective on it. Maybe on TikTok. What's up, Kayla? Good morning. Or Aurora says, so it's just balance. Yeah, I mean, balance is a great word, I think. I think going into your weight loss with the concept of balance is wonderful, meaning like we need to balance results with our experience of it, right? So diets are completely unbalanced. Okay. So diets they're all weighted to the fastest results possible. That diets have been sold to you your entire life. How do I get the fastest results possible? How do I lose weight the quickest? Okay. So we get this scale. We've got the results you want to get and your experience of it. Okay. So if we're going to get the most dramatic results, let's just pick the most dramatic thing. The most dramatic thing would probably be dry fasting. Like you literally just shut your mouth. No more food, no more water going in there. Okay. Well, let's see. That's going to give you the fastest weight loss results, theoretically. So it'll give you the fastest results, but the experience of it is the worst, right? It's really hard, super duper hard. And eventually you can't do it anymore. Eventually you have to eat. Okay. So if we start looking at things, the balance mindset, we don't just look at the results we're going to get on the plan. We also look at how is that going to feel to do it. And so now if we take something a little less extreme than completely stop eating and dry fasting and water fasting, then we go to keto, which is a very extreme, goofy diet, everyone. Okay. Your interpretation of keto, now don't bullshit yourself. You're going to say, oh no, when I get into keto, once I'm in it, I love it. Once I'm in it, I'm just in the flow and it's easy. Once I'm in keto, it's easy. People will tell me. And I say, okay, are you in keto now? Well, no. But when I lost 40 pounds 30 years ago, when I was really in it, it was easy. Okay. Well then why'd you stop? It was so easy. You stopped. Why? You're tired of being thin? What happened? Well, it wasn't easy. Let's be honest. Okay. I know what they mean. It gets easier. Okay. I get that, but it's not easy. If it was easy, you'd hop right back into it. Right. Oh shit. I ate a bunch of cookies. I'll right back into it. 'Cause it's so easy. So easy to be keto. I'll just pop into that. Cause guess what? You want to know what the easiest thing to do is? If you want to know what the easiest thing to do is, it's what you do. You always do the easiest thing to you. And so if you're not doing keto anymore, it's because it's not easy to you. It's hard and you're avoiding it because you don't want to do it. Okay. So, anyways, the balance piece, and there's a lot of ways to think about balance, but one specific big one to me is we got to balance the results we're looking for with the quality of life hit. Okay. Because if we just stop eating, that's a huge quality of life hit and we're not going to keep it up. So we need to give up a little bit in the intensity of the results we're looking for in the short term, by the way. I'm only talking about the short term because dieting has you thinking very short term. So you're thinking, how much weight can I lose in a period of time until I get to my goal weight? And you're looking to make that as fast as possible. But then I say, okay, well, what are you gonna do with maintenance? How long are you gonna keep it up? And you're like, I don't know, I'll figure it out then. Oh, okay. Well, program yourself then is all about living at your goal weight. So getting to your goal weight's a great milestone, but it's just the very beginning of the story. The real story is living for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years at your goal weight in the easiest, most enjoyable way possible. And when you know how to do that, when you know how to think, live, eat like a thin, healthy person, well, there you go. You know what I mean? You've got it. And now you can live the rest of your life as a thin, healthy person. Wouldn't that be more appealing? I mean, it should be anyways. I know you don't feel it, but shouldn't that be more appealing and more important than just how fast you lose the weight? But I know it doesn't feel that way. But if all of a sudden you start to realize, yeah, this is really about the long term, I'm going to commit to this, right? Now you're in the college mindset, right? So when you think about if you went to college or if you did some certification program or trade program or whatever, if you ever did any sort of training program or college, you already know this mindset, right? Because you committed to, from who knows, a year, 2 years, 4 years, 8 years. And you said, I'm going to do this. Why? Because you're thinking about the big picture, right? You're thinking, okay, I want to get this degree because then I'm going to spend the next 30 years, 40 years doing this thing. It's going to be the foundational piece of my life. So because you think of work in a very long-term big way, you're willing to dedicate 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, 8 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars to really shore up this foundation of a very important piece of your life. But now when it comes to your weight, your health, you don't value it the same way. Yeah, I'd like to look better. Yeah, I want you to look better too. But I also want you to live longer. I want you to enjoy your life. If you don't think that your weight is one of the primary factors that's going to dictate your longevity, how long you're literally here, and your quality of life while you're here, then I'm not sure how you're thinking about weight. Which brings me to the point that you don't, but you probably should value your weight, your health to a similar level as you value your career. And so on one hand, we've got, again, most people that are watching this probably somewhere along the way, you dedicated a year, 2 years, 4 years, 8 years to your career, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars to that area. But then when it comes to your weight and your health, what have you dedicated? A bunch of fad diets, a bunch of swings at the ball, keto, paleo, Atkins, swinging, and never really committing to it, never really approaching it with a real strategic, systematic plan. That's what the trade school, the college, that's what that gave you. You started off knowing nothing and you get exposed. You learn all this stuff. You learn this, then you learn this, then you learn this. You work with it. You learn the people. You figure it out, and you come out the other end with a whole body of knowledge in your mind that you're able to utilize for the rest of your life. And you don't get anywhere near that with your weight. Why is that? Because you've been conditioned your entire life to think like a dieter. You've been conditioned by this culture to not value your weight and your health. Not really. Yeah, you want to look better, but so there's a lot of mindset work, I guess is what I'm saying. Really ultimately it's mindset that's going to dictate your weight. And there's a lot of levels to it, to be honest. That's why I say program yourself thin's like a college course. It's a college course to live as a thin, healthy person. And I think that mindset is crucial. I wouldn't want anyone in the program who did not think that way, because it's important. Aurora says, I'm so afraid of carbs. Right now I'm trying to listen to my body, but still feels difficult because of restriction. Yeah. I mean, again, that's the perfect example of what I'm talking about, right? So I'm so afraid of carbs. Like, I know this has been, again, what the diet industry doesn't want you to lose weight. Just so you know, the diet industry is it's a subscription model business. Dieting's a recurring revenue business model, if you didn't know. So they make their money off repeat customers, and most of the diets are owned by big food companies. So they don't want you to lose weight. And so, Weight Watchers was owned by Heinz, Jenny Craig was owned by Nestle, Atkins Food Products owned by the same company as Auntie Anne's Pretzels and Cinnabon, Slim Fast owned by the same company as Ben & Jerry's ice cream. These companies don't have your best interest at heart. Okay. And so they're filling your head with bricks when it comes to weight loss. And one of the strategies they use just confuse the shit out of you. Right. So, first it was no fat, get rid of all the fat. And next it's like, get rid of all the sugar, and then get rid of all the carbs. Right. The keto diet, the ketogenic diet was created for people that were epileptic. Again, it's just these extreme things that are conceptually simple to wrap your head around, but in reality, it's not that way. But so, yeah, I'm so afraid of carbs. I wouldn't want to be afraid of carbs. I don't want to feel a bunch of fear in my body. I'm so afraid of carbs. To me, I know that feeling, because I know a lot of people have that. And what happens is they live in this constant state of stress about what they're going to eat, right? Your body runs best on carbs. So you've been, now again, let me make the clear story. The big issue in America, anyways, is refined carbs. The number one source of calories in this country is baked goods. Okay. And it's followed by pizza and a bunch of other refined carbs. Refined carbs, primarily flour, the top of the list, And so, we don't want refined carbs. I don't say we don't want refined carbs. We want to dial that down. Refined carbs want to dial down. Natural, regular carbs are wonderful for your body. Fruits, vegetables, these are wonderful for your body. Your body loves them. It's like high octane fuel for them. And so, again, I believe this is intentional. I think they've intentionally demonized the word carbs and caused confusion. And so what are you going to do? Your ideal diet is one that has the least amount of fruits and vegetables and greens in it, the least amount of whole grains in it. That's what they're selling us as the healthiest diet. That's not fucking true. There's no proof of that at all. Go search the blue zones. And Beyond the Blue Zones, which was a book where they went to where they had the highest level of 100-year-old people, the highest numbers of them. They went to 5 places that had that and studied their diets. All of them were high carb diets, natural carbs, whole foods. And that's how societies have been throughout history. There's no protein rich society. I mean, there's a couple of them, there's always some outliers, but the vast majority of societies on the planet have been carb rich diets, but they're natural carbs. So there's no need to be so afraid of carbs. The secret is to start eating more healthy natural carbs and less refined carbs for most people. Now, again, everyone's different. Everyone's got their own personal situations. So I'm speaking in a general way, but for most people, the fruits and vegetables aren't the problem. It's the refined carbs. It's the flour, the sugar, the rice and the refined stuff. So, but yeah. Yeah, that's Karen. Yeah. Karen's in the program. Yep. Karen says, don't be afraid of carbs. I lost 60 pounds and ate bread every day. Yeah. I eat carbs. Again, I do limit flour. Like that's absolutely part of my strategy. I limit flour, and sugar most of the time. Okay. I have it sometimes, but I'm very, very moderate with it, but, um, I mean, giving that stuff up. You do not need to. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people are afraid of carbs, it's not. I mean, really, like, what's controlling your weight is your calories. Okay, the thing is that in the society, this is what they've done. Again, well, baked goods. Let's just take a baked good. Let's take a blueberry muffin. Okay, and so it's got flour in it, and so okay, well, there's carbs in it, right? But it is partly the carbs. I mean, like the flour in your body, it triggers this. It's because flour is powdered down. When you consume it, it very quickly gets absorbed into your blood. It very quickly increases your blood sugar. Okay. So that's one part of it. But that muffin also, beyond the carb of a muffin, right? And they've associated us to look at the carb of a muffin. But there's also lots of calories in that muffin. Why? Because there's lots of butter in that muffin. Butter is very calorie dense, right? There's lots of sugar in that muffin, more calories, right? And then there is the flour that again affects your blood sugar. And so it's a combination of effects that's not, yes, the refined carbs is part of it, but we'll look at the muffin and say, oh, it's a carb, I can't eat it. But it's not the carb, it's the package. It's the processed nature of that package. Because you can look at an apple or banana, celery, right? Another carb. You can look at farro. You can look at quinoa, another carb. But those two things are completely different. I mean, they're two worlds apart. You eat the muffin, and because of the way it's all powdered, right? The sugar is super processed and powdered. The flour is super powdered and floured down. And so it goes into your body, and there's lots of calories in that muffin. And then the way that muffin interacts in your body is it's very quickly absorbed, spikes your blood sugar. Your body releases insulin, crashes your blood sugar, and now you're feeding more of that. And that's not to talk about the sugar and the flour effect on your brain. It triggers the pleasure centers of your brain because it's absorbed so fast. The number one thing that makes something addictive is the time between when you take it and when you get the result from it, get the response from it. Okay. So this is with cigarettes. One of the things they found when they had the lawsuits with the cigarette companies is they were putting ammonia in the cigarettes because it helped thin the blood a little bit to help the nicotine get in your bloodstream quicker. Okay. So the reason this carb cupcake is such an issue for weight is because it's all powdered down. The sugar and the flour are powdered down and you absorb it quickly. And so you quickly get that blood sugar spike. You quickly get that response in your brain. And so you start to get addicted to that feeling. And there's lots of calories in it. So now you're addicted to something that has lots and lots of calories in it. Okay. That's the problem. And you need to see it that way. You can't just, oh, a carb. I'm scared of a carb and a cupcake. You're not seeing things clearly because now someone says, oh, I got some quinoa and some sauteed vegetables. And you say, oh my God, no, that's all carbs. No way. No way. And that's when you need to have your head examined because now we're talking about something quinoa, hardly any calories in it. Also, it's in its natural form, so it takes a lot longer for it to break down. So you get a much steadier release of energy in your body. You don't get the spike crash blood sugar. You get a much steadier release of glucose into your body. You eat the vegetables, the sauteed vegetables. Again, there's very little calories in that. It takes a while for your body to break down the fiber of those vegetables. So it's a slower release of energy into your body. They are two totally different things, but you're calling them the same thing. You're straight fucked. Like you're not seeing things accurately. And this is what they've done with the carb scares. And they're constantly manipulating us in every single way, but it's all the stuff. What's up, X? Like says, I start seeing my jeans looser after learning so much from you. Usually I don't weigh myself because I stress with numbers. So I just use clothes to see if I'm on the right path. Thank you so much, Jim. You helped me a lot. Yeah, great job, X. I enjoy the foods, lots of veggies with protein and some carbs every day. Yeah, super. Again, the main paradigm you need, the main distinction you need to make with your foods, in my opinion, is really how clean it is, right? You need to have like food versus food stuff. To me, that's the most important distinction you need to make with your food. Not carbs, not protein, not fat, not that stuff. But is this food natural, whole? How many steps away from nature is it versus how processed is it? And the more you move your food towards natural and whole, the easier it is to lose weight. Just without doing anything else. If that's all you did, it's almost certain that you're going to start losing weight, because all the whole natural foods have way less calories in them and they satisfy you way longer. The secret to losing weight is to manage your hunger. And the secret to managing your hunger is to consume foods that stay in your body longer. You know, it reminds me, like, there used to be this video, it was like a viral video, and they'd put like cotton candy in the sink and they had a raccoon there. And then they would put the water on. The cotton candy just disappear, right? And the raccoon goes, what? You freak out, you know? But in my mind, that's how I always internalize like a muffin, a cookie, you know, that type of stuff. It's especially baked goods across the board, because you absorb them like that relatively. Right. And so it's like that powdered flour, that powdered sugar, that butter, it gets in you and your body absorbs it like that. And that's not what you want, because what's happening is, see, what you think, most dieters think that their satisfaction, their hunger is directed by how many calories they're consuming, which is a funny thing, because I thought that too. And it's so funny to think back on it, because now that I look back, I'm like, I just kept eating and I was always hungry. You know? And so what really dictates your satisfaction, your fullness, is the nutrients you're getting. Calories do matter, but a lot of it's the nutrient density and variety you're getting. And one of the main nutrients you need, and it's funny how this is kind of labeled, because it's probably the most important thing, that if you eat more of this, I almost guarantee you'll lose weight. And it's kind of a shortcut for everything we're talking about, is fiber. You start consuming more natural whole fiber, however you want to do that. I'll give you a simple: fruits, vegetables, greens, beans, right? Whole grains, probably the easiest way. But you start consuming more fiber, you start transforming instantly, because that's what your body is designed to consume. This is the thing that drives me absolutely bonkers about the carnivore diet. The goofiest diet on the planet. I'm going to crown that as the goofiest one. Oh, well, my cousin did it and lost 35 pounds. I don't give a fuck. Let me know where they're at in a year. Don't tell me that you know someone who lost 30 pounds on it. Tell me next year that there's still 35 pounds down on it. I say, good for them. No one's sticking to that diet. You know why? Because you're not a carnivore. You don't know me. Imagine saying that. Yeah, I know you're not a carnivore, just like I know you're not a cheetah. You're watching this right now. I know you're not a lion. You know, and just like I know you're not a lion, I know you're not a carnivore. How do I know that? Because I know what your intestines look like. Unless you had some situation that changed them. The intestines you were born with are not meant to just eat meat. You know, they're meant to eat fiber. They're meant to eat fruits and vegetables, primarily. Greens, beans, whole grains. Me too. I mean, I'm not anti-meat. I'm just saying that your digestive tract is that of an omnivore, and you thrive with lots of fiber in your body. It's transformative. It's transformative. The more fiber you eat, I mean, you know, and by the way, GLP-1 is a gut hormone that they discovered, and it helps to reduce your appetite and food noise. That's one hormone they've discovered so far. And when you eat more whole foods, you start creating more GLP-1. It starts with the chewing. When you chew more, you produce more GLP-1. And of course, whole natural food, you have to chew more. and the food stays in your gut longer. There's a thing called the ileal brake. So you have a braking system in your intestines that when the fiber hits there, right? Because by the time, the fiber doesn't get digested. So it just passes through your system. But do not think it doesn't do anything. It's a superfood for the healthy microbes in your microbiome in your gut. And so you're giving this fiber to it so all these microbes can eat it. And it's really good for your body. It's the way your body's meant to exist. And you compare that to by the time that cupcake, none of that's getting there. It's flour, sugar, it's all dissolved, gone by then. And so your intestines are like empty because you're eating a lot of processed food that doesn't get down there. Okay? I'm clearly generalizing. You understand? I'm going to sit here and explain this scientifically, but I just want to prove the point that your intestines are empty, let's just say, because you don't eat any fiber. I know you don't eat fiber unless you're intentional about it. Why do I know that? Because fiber doesn't process well. So fiber is probably the number one ingredient that's been stripped from our diet as humans in America. And it's always going to be hard to lose weight when you are hungry all the time. So learning to manage your hunger really is crucial to managing your weight. And the number one thing you do to manage your hunger is consume more fiber-full foods. And again, they know now because they know about GLP-1, but again, chewing more, eating more fiberful foods and having it stay in your gut longer helps your gut produce more GLP-1 hormone. Okay. But one thing you have to understand is that's one hormone they've identified. You got to know there's more hormones than that. So it's not even just the GLP-1. I think there's other benefits as well that are hunger and appetite suppressing. And I think that's the secret to losing weight is to consume less calories and feel full. I think that's the magical secret. And you're not going to do it on processed foods. Processed foods are designed by multi-billion-dollar companies to get you to eat more of them. They don't want to satisfy you. There's no processed food company in the world that their goal is they want you to feel satisfied and full. You know that, right? So their entire business model runs on you being hungry. So their teams of chemists that create the food are really after one key thing. How can we get the food to be as addictive as possible and as unsatisfying as possible? They took the satiety out of the food and now they're selling it back to you in a shot form. And so if you want to stay in that world, knock yourself out. But another alternative to taking what is it? The fat shot? Is that what we're calling them now? Yeah, I don't know. Is that Trump calling it the fat shot? So I don't know if that's officially what we're calling them now. But anyways, again, there are alternatives. They would make you think there was no alternative in the world to lose weight other than the shots or surgery, but I'm here to tell you there are. Kelly says, thanks for calling me out on the comparison question yesterday. I needed that reality check. You're welcome, Kelly. That's what I'm here for. I was happy to work with my clients too. So ask questions, clients. This is kind of a way that I can support you, and I'm happy to support you on these podcasts. In addition to all the other stuff. Yeah. Ammonia in the cigarette statement. It's gross. Don says, I've been having too many pleasure days. Back to basics. Yeah, that happens, Don. Again, I was saying this yesterday, managing your weight is like surfing. And this is so important to realize because the diet industry will try and convince you that you get to your goal weight and then it's just like this fixed space and time. Like once you get to your goal weight, you're good. You're going to be there forever. And obviously that's not true. And really, I think you should think about managing your weight for the rest of your life as kind of be like surfing. If you're surfing, you have to constantly be engaged, right? Because the conditions are constantly evolving and changing. The waves constantly building and cresting and all the rest of it. So you have to be engaged in the moment. And this is the same thing. Again, it gets easier and easier as you do it, but there's always things that happen in life, things that make it easier, things that make it harder. And we're looking to kind of navigate that. So yeah, great job, Don. Again, that's completely normal. Karen says, I just want a doctor. Oh, I just want to diet Dr. Pepper right now with chewy ice as soon as I leave work. Diet Dr. Pepper. It's chewy ice. Never had chewy ice. And I do Coke Zero too. I don't keep it in the house though. Yeah, smart move. You tell him, Jim. Jamelin says, truth, once I added more fiber, it clicked. I felt fuller, longer, more satisfied. Yeah, Jamelin, I'm glad you said that. I mean, it's like, I don't know. My whole life is like knowing magical secrets and I'm trying to tell everyone in the world. I don't know. I don't know why it's that hard. I do wonder that sometimes. I think 'cause it takes some thinking. I think that's the hard part. Ben Franklin said that. He said, thinking's hard work. That's why so few people do it. So yeah, changing your mindset. It's easier to just be like given some meal plans. So I just stop eating carbs, right? Conceptually, that's the simplest thing on the planet, right? There's almost like no idea easier than to just stop eating carbs. It's so simple to understand, but it's so hard to implement, and that's where the diets get you. The diets are like a carnival game. They make it seem really simple and then they're really hard though. And so you'll be well served to recognize that trick quickly and stop doing them. Stop falling for it. Colleen says, what do you think about the whole psyllium husk added to water? I don't like that. I don't like one bit because it's not just the fiber, and that's what they've done to us. They've brought everything down into like, they did this in the 60s. It wasn't until the 60s, we never broke foods up into fat, carbs, protein. We just thought of it as food. And it wasn't until they had was it Ansel Keys committee that I think they started breaking it down. I think it was him. But we always breaking things down. So it's not just the fiber of the food. It's also the micronutrients. It's the food matrix that the fresh foods come in. When you think about fruits and vegetables, and yes, I know they're manipulated now to this point to be sweeter and bigger and other stuff. They're not the same as they were. But still, I mean, that's a natural food. Your body has evolved over millions of years to eat natural food. And so I think that there's a multitude of benefits you get from eating natural food beyond just the fiber, beyond just the nutrients. I think it's big, and I don't think you can replicate it individually. So I'm not saying psyllium husk wouldn't help or work, but I would never even consider that because I don't want to waste my fiber intake on things that I'm not getting more nourishment with. So I want to consume my fiber in the most nutrient dense way possible, so that's what I think about that. But maybe it's better than nothing. I don't know. Thanks for the response. Yeah, you're welcome, Colleen. All right, I got to get out of here. But if you're doing my world, if you're not on my email list, make sure you get on it. I give you a free hypnosis session, a free training video. I send you emails every day. I got the goal weight quiz. I'll be sending an email out for that some point this week. I'll get you that. All of it's free. No one gives you more free stuff than I do. This is a mission for me. Let me help you out. So go click the link in my bio or go to Program Yourself, then go get that. On top of that, I'm here every day, Monday through Friday, usually around noon Eastern. Happy to answer your questions. Any weight-related questions, I'm happy to help you out. Again, this is my mission. I'm trying to clarify things for you all. I know you're all confused because you're given a different story every day of the week. Again, it's not your fault. You've never been taught how to truly live as a thin, healthy person, and that's what I'm here for, to help you do. Okay, again, it really, truly is a mission for me. And so I'm here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Eastern, you hop on and ask your questions. And if you miss it and you like to listen to it, it's also a podcast. So Program Yourself Then is the name of the podcast. It's on all the podcast platforms. You can go check it out, download them, listen to them, and they're there to go for you. So, all right, everyone, have a super day.